Hey everyone, welcome back to Champion the Passion, a weekly pro wrestling podcast where we inspire you to champion your passions and celebrate the joy in what you love. I'm your host, my name is Victoria Daisy, and today we're going to be recapping everything that happened last night on NXT. But before we dive deeper, don't forget to leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed. Follow me at It's Victoria Daisy across all social platforms and follow Champion the Passion across all streaming platforms. But let's dive right into the opening match. We had our first of four women's Evolution Eliminator matches. So, for those who don't know, last week, General Manager Ava announced that JC Jane's next opponent will be at Evolution. But before we get there, last night we had 4 one-on-one matches, and whoever won those matches will then qualify to a Fatal 4-Way next week. And whoever wins that will then be the new number one contender for JC Jane's NXT Women's Championship and then compete for it at Evolution. And last night, as I mentioned, we had 4, and the first one actually opened the match. We had Jada Parker versus Thea Hale. Now, before Jada could even finish her entrance walking down the ramp, Thea aggressively attacked her from behind, and we started off the night hot, on fire. And I just thought it was a pretty good match. Like, I thought it was a good match. I mean, we have somebody with muscle and power in Jada Parker, and then somebody with speed and fireballness with Thea Hale. And I thought that the two worked really well together. I thought they collided well together, and they just put on a really entertaining match that the crowd was very invested in. And in the end, Jada Parker won and is now advanced to the Fatal 4-Way next week to determine the number one contender, as I mentioned, for JC Jane's title. Then after that, we went right into the second Evolution Eliminator match of the night. We had Kalani Jordan versus Lash Legend. Now, this was a surprising fun matchup. Like, I didn't think that these two would have as good as a match as they did, to be quite honest. I mean, I thought both women worked really well together, and I felt like they really fed off of each other's energy, which is really good. Like, it's not a bad thing at all. I felt that I don't know, they just like almost as if it was like healthy competition. Like, they were pushing each other just to do better, and everything felt clean and entertaining, which I really appreciated, because sometimes matches, especially when the stakes are so high, can get a little sloppy. But I thought they put on a really, really good match. In the end, though, Lash Legend did win, and alongside Jada Parker is now advancing to the Fatal 4-Way. Then we took a little bit of a break from the Eliminator matches, and we hopped right into a Tony D'Angelo segment. So he came out to address all the drama currently going on with the D'Angelo family. He said that he has no clue what is going on, but all he wants right now is Luca Crucifino's trust and honesty. And he feels like right now he is not getting that. So he called him out, and Luca came out. Tony said that if he's going to lie, he's not just going to lie to him, but he's going to lie in front of everybody in the NXT universe. That's why he wanted him to come out, because he just wanted to eliminate that dishonesty. So Luca then explained everything that happened the night when Stax kind of kidnapped him. Rizzo went into hiding. All the drama really began. He explained everything, but Tony still wasn't buying it. Then Tony started clocking Luca, asking him why he never attacked Stax. I mean, if you were with him, you had the opportunity. Why didn't you ever make the move to attack him? You had every right to, but you didn't. So I really get where Tony is coming from, because this is a little sus. Then Tony said, quote, "Eyes don't lie." So he asked him to look him dead in the eye and tell the truth. Is he with Stax? But before Luca could answer, Stax came out. So, I mean, I just have to say, Stax is in his ultimate heel mode right now, which I love. I mean, his outfit, he was all in leather, black gloves. The way he was talking was so heelish, and I loved it. So Stax said that there's a reason he saved Luca from the desert in Vegas. And that's because he was never going to ever be good enough for Tony. Then they all started attacking each other, and one thing led to the next, and then eventually Luca accidentally hit Tony. Now, all along, was he working with Stax? I don't know. all along, did he want to hit Tony? I don't know. But what I do know is that hit was definitely accidental in the moment, whether he wanted to in the long haul or not. But I'm very intrigued to see kind of where all of this goes. We haven't seen Adriana Rizzo in a minute, and things are really heating up between Tony and Luca. So I'm really intrigued to see how that pans out. We do have NXT The Great American Bash July 12th, which is their next PLE. So a little under a month away. And I'm curious to see if this is going to start heating up really quickly to maybe we can have a match at that next PLE. But only time will tell. Then we had a 6-man tag match. We had Elijah, Josh Briggs, and Yoshiki Inamura versus AJ Francis, Trick Williams, and Wes Lee. Now, this was a fantastic match. I love a good 6-man tag match, and this one definitely delivered. I mean, there was so much chaos, so many fun spots. It was just entertaining top to bottom. But in the end, Elijah, Josh Briggs, and Yoshiki Inamura won, which honestly had me kind of shook. I was fully prepared for AJ, Trick, and Wes to win, but I think what was even more shocking was the fact that Yoshiki literally pinned Trick, which I think that's not my favorite way for that to go about, unless you're gonna start up a whole feud between Trick and Yoshiki, which I know is definitely not gonna happen. So I don't know why you would have your champion get pinned. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think AJ Francis could have taken that pin, or even Wesley, to be quite honest with you. So I don't really know what that booking decision was. Wasn't my favorite, but again, to each their own. We'll see what that leads to. Then we jumped right back into the Evolution Eliminator matches. The third one out of the 4 was Zarya versus Izzy Dame. Now, I thought this was a good match. I feel like Zarya was moving very sharp in the ring, which is always nice to see. And I thought Izzy countered those moments very nicely. And I recently feel like Izzy has really grown into herself more in the ring. You can see her confidence building and her character shining more, which I've always said that like character is so important in the WWE, especially. It really brings you far. It's the determining factor. You know, in other wrestling companies, it's more your wrestling that brings you that far, but in the WWE, they're very heavy on storylines and characters. So I feel like that's something Izzy has been lacking, but she recently has stepped up her game and I could not be more happy. And clearly it was enough because she won and she'll be joining Lash Legend and Jada Parker and the next woman we will talk about in the next match in the Fatal 4-Way next week. And then 4 out of 4, the final Evolution Eliminator match was between Lola Vice and Jordan Grace. Now, this was a really fun matchup, although I wanted to see more from Lola. I felt like there were certain points throughout the match where I almost felt like she might have been mentally defeated and she was getting tired easily. I mean, she definitely had her moments where she was on top and in control, but I just wanted to see more. I felt like Jordan was dominating a little too much, and you can't always have that be the case, in my opinion, but I did like towards the end how it kind of felt like it was a little bit close that Lola was going to win. That was the only time I felt a really strong competitiveness from her, but it's okay. In the end, Jordan Grace did win. So now she'll be joining Jada Parker, Lash Legend, and who did I say? Izzy Dame in the Fatal 4-Way match next week. And whoever wins that will be the new #1 contender and will face JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship at Evolution July 13th next month in Atlanta. I think that's going to be so much fun. Again, I'm so excited that we are finally getting some NXT queens on the Evolution card. I believe that's the only match so far that's been announced for Evolution, which is huge. So very excited to see what other NXT matches we'll get on Evolution. But the final thing that happened was a Blake Monroe contract signing. Now, quick note before we get into the actual segment, I was fully expecting Blake to come out to the generic NXT music, kind of like how Ricky Saints did when he had his contract signing. He came out to just the regular NXT theme song because I guess they were still working on his theme song. And I was fully expecting that, but the complete opposite happened because she came out in her full presentation with her entrance music, and I was literally not expecting it at all. And guys, I love it so much. Def Rebel is really hit or miss, but I just have to say they really did their big one with this one because holy crap, this has to be like top 10 best Def Rebel creations. I'm obsessed. Like it was so good. They obviously did their little voice moment at the beginning. They always have them talk, which is annoying. I think it would have been much more cooler if it just started with the kiss sound effect and then that was it. But Whatever, Death Rebel has to make their mark somehow. But whatever. Blake opened up the segment by saying that the moment everyone has been waiting for is finally here. Then she said, quote, "It's no secret WWE has always been my dream, and now this entire division is all mine." After she spoke directly to every woman in the back and said that their time is up because the spotlight is firmly on the glamour Blake Monroe. Then she signed her contract to make it official, but it wasn't long before the NXT Women's Champion JC Jane came out with Fatal Influence. JC was very quick to ask Ava why she's kissing up to the newbie. And then Fallon jumped in to say that Fatal Influence has ran NXT for the last year and they never got celebrated for anything that they've done. And then Jasmine came in as well to say that if Blake thinks that she can just destroy everything that Fatal Influence has built, she is, quote, delusional. And then Blake responded with, quote, "Oh, the rumors are true. Fatal Influence are as insecure as a," I won't say the word, but if you saw it, then you know what she said. Then JC stood on freaking business and said that this women's division does not need Blake and that she's just another flavor of the month. And then Blake replied with a Sabrina Carpenter reference, which is something that's been heavily leading this Blake Monroe era for Mariah May. As we know, with that opening video package last week. And so she replied and said, quote, "Have you ever tried this one?" And then slapped the crap out of JC. And so for those who don't know, a lot of this inspiration not only has come from Sabrina, but from her previous short and sweet tour that just concluded recently. I believe she's going on one more leg in the fall, but during one of her songs called Juno, right before she does a different pose every night, she always says, "Have you ever tried this one?" It's become viral on social media. And so Blake took that into account and it worked really well for her because JC called her just another flavor of the month. And well, she said, "Have you ever tried this one?" And then slapped the crap out of her, which I thought was awesome. And something else that I really appreciated too is that after they all beat each other up, JC was the woman standing on, which usually the newbie is standing on top. But I feel like we really need to take JC serious, at least for this short time that she's going to be champion, because Blake, by her getting beat down, it's not going to affect her. We're still going to be excited. We're still going to be invested. But I feel like if JC got beat down and Monroe was the one on top, it just wouldn't settle. It just wouldn't sit with me right. You know, your champion should be beat down like that. So I'm very curious to see how Blake and JC's rivalry potentially pans out, considering JC's Evolution match. You know, we all thought that Mariah was, or sorry, oh my God, Blake was going to immediately win the championship, but it seems that that's not the case. So I predict that whoever JC faces at Evolution, she will retain that title until Blake takes it at a future PLE. So very intrigued to see how that happens. But my overall thoughts, I thought it was a pretty solid show. My match of the night was definitely the 6-man tag match. It was so chaotic and entertaining. My segment of the night, hands down, was the Blake Monroe contract signing. I mean, I loved her presentation and everything about her character is a 10 out of 10. And I just have to say, thanks to the Evolution eliminator matches tonight, the 4 of them, alongside with the Blake Monroe segment and some of the backstage segments we had, I felt like this show was really women driven. Does that make sense? Was heavily women driven. Why I can't speak. Heavily woman driven. Does that make sense? Whatever. Anyways, there was a lot of women segments and matches, which I really appreciated, and that's something that main roster should take some notes on. But overall, I'd rate the show about a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Another great week of NXT. Very excited for next week, especially as we are on the road to the Great American Bash and Evolution. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this episode of Champion the Passion. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed. Follow me at It's Victoria Daisy across all social platforms and follow Champion the Passion across all streaming platforms. Don't forget to champion your passions and celebrate the joy in what you love. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.